रेडिल्स में वाक़ KLN प्रसाद ऑडिटोरियम फैप्सी में आज मरहूम PV नरसिम्हा राव का दूसरा लेक्चर मुनक़्क़िद हुआ, जिसमें मरकज़ी वज़ीर हेल्थ एंड फैमिली गुलाम नबी आज़ाद ने भी खिताब किया और दूसरों ने भी हिस्सा लिया।
I now request Mr. Azad to deliver memorial lecture on
Mr. Paturi Venkateshwar Rao, former AP Press Academy Chairman, Madam Mani Devi, daughter of Narasimha Rao ji and eminent educationist, Dr. K. Ramachandra Murthy, Editor-in-Chief of the Hans India and HMTV, Mr. PNV Nair, Editor, Ms. Anita Saroja ji, Resident Editor, respected Manohar Rao ji, the younger brother of Narasimha Rao ji, Mr. Botsa Satyanarayan, the Transport Minister, Mr. Nagendran, Labour Minister, Mr. Shabir, Farmer Minister, Mr. Vijay Ramarao ji, Farmer Minister, Mr. Kaki Rao, former Chief Secretary, Mr. Kukur Ramaiya, MLC and Educationist, Mr. Rahmat Farooq, MLC, Mr. Vishnu, MLA, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Well, at the outset, I would like to wish you all a very happy and successful year. Successful new year, full of good tidings, peace and prosperity. It is a matter of great privilege for me to be here today amidst this august gathering to deliver the second memorial lecture in memory and honor of late Shri PV Narasimha Rao, a great intellectual, a great freedom fighter, eminent lawyer, and a statesman rising through sheer hard work, talent, and visionary qualities to be the 9th Prime Minister of independent India. I am delighted to recall his contributions and my association with him, especially during one of the most difficult times. He had many outstanding qualities, those of being a thinker, a writer, and a great scholar, and was very aptly described by former President of India, Shri APJ Abdul Kalam. I quote, patriotic statesman who believed that the nation is bigger than the political system, unquote. As you are aware, he had a humble origins, being born on 29th June 1920 in Warangal. At the age of 3, adopted and brought to a village in the present-day Nagar district of Andhra Pradesh, and was brought up in the rural agrarian family. After pursuing bachelor's degree at the Swani University, he went to Pune where he completed a master's degree in law. Although his mother tongue was Telugu, he had an equally excellent command of Marathi. I may add here that having represented Maharashtra thrice in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, I was personally acquainted with his fluency in Marathi. In fact, he was a linguist of par excellence and maybe the only Indian politicians who could speak so many languages including Telugu, Hindi, Urdu, Odia, Marathi, Bengali, Gujarati, Tamil and English. He could also speak French, Arabic, Spanish, German, Greek, Latin and Persian frequently. Ladies and gentlemen, Shri Rao was a leader of many qualities and I had a good fortune of knowing and working with him closely in different capacities for over 3 decades. Before recalling his great and transformative contributions to the country, I would like to recall here his wisdom, deep understanding of issues, maturity, patience, and his judgment on timeline of decision taking and waiting and ability to persuade and convince. As Prime Minister, he once famously and very accurately said, and I quote, "Not taking a decision is also a decision." Unquote. When he was asked by media person as to why no decision had been taken on some issues brought before him. It was a measure of his studied reflection on issues, and I cannot think of a better response to questions of indecision that had ignited something at that point of time. I was highly impressed by his temperament and tolerance of constructive criticism in furtherance of a public policy or cause which could prove beneficial to the nation and the people. He would listen to all opinions before taking a decision in the cabinet or the Congress Working Committee, and did not at all mind criticism of policies and programs when accompanied with useful and positive suggestions, and was quick to adopt the suggested changes to undertake course corrections in the interest of the people whenever required. Well, much has been said about my acquaintance with him. As a matter of fact, my acquaintance with him went back to 1975. By that time, he was a very matured national leader, having been already Chief Minister of the state.
Hello.
I was the president of Jammu Kashmir State Youth Congress. So it was in 96 when we had a All India Congress Committee session, 75 first at Chandigarh, and subsequently in 76 at Kamal, Dr. Maranagar and Assam. And you remember that was the era, during the emergency, it was the era of Youth Congress. So almost Youth Congress and Congress leaders were working in close coordination. So that was the time since I have known to him. And ultimately it was 1977 when Mrs. Gandhi lost the parliament elections. I was brought back to Delhi from state presidentship to the General Secretary of India Youth Congress, because most of the Youth Congress leaders at the national level, they left the party. And it is since 1977, now almost 36 years or 7 years since I have been associated with South India. As General Secretary of All India Youth Congress in 77, I was made in charge for the southern part of the country, as Kerala, Pondicherry, Tamil Nadu, Andhra and Karnataka. And it's my great fortune that since 1977, in different capacities, first as Youth Congress leader, General Secretary, and then Youth Congress All India President, and then General Secretary almost for 2.5 decades. As Congress General Secretary, parent organization, I have been in charge of all the southern states. Only a few months till June I was the again General Secretary of the southern part of the country. So that brought us even much closer to each other, particularly 77, 78 and 79. So it was 77 when 77 and 78. Particularly in 78 when there was a division in the Congress party and Mr. Narasimha Rao stood by Mrs. Indira Gandhi. And there were very few senior leaders who stood by Mrs. Indira Gandhi. And of course, Youth Congress did stood by Mrs. Gandhi, but not all. Most of the office bearers who were or senior office bearers in 75 in the Youth Congress, they also left. So there was a huge vacuum for us to take over. But that was most unfortunate also, and that was a great opportunity for the young men like us at that point of time to fill that space. And having left, particularly after 78 division, only very few congressmen, both in the Youth Congress and parent organization, and that was the time that we were working very closely with each other, the Youth Congress and the parent organization. Well, in 79, when parliament elections were announced, I could never imagine that I am going to contest Lok Sabha, because we have 6 parliamentary seats in Jammu Kashmir, only 6. And just few months before the elections, Mrs. Indira Gandhi and Sheikh Abdullah, who till such time was with Janata Party, supporting Janata Party, but they stuck some, alliance, and in the alliance, he asked for a major share. He asked for 5 seats out of the 6, Sheikh Abdullah. I'm talking the elder Sheikh Abdullah, not Farooq Abdullah, his father. And we were left with only 1 seat of Jammu, and that we had Dharmilal Dogra as the leader of opposition. And he was already told to Mrs. Gandhi almost 3 years before that he has to get ready to contest the election. At that point of time, there used to be a parliamentary vote to decide the tickets of the day. The parliamentary board was presided over by Congress President and 7 other members. And Narasimha Rao ji was one of those 7 members. So I remember the last day of the day of ticket distribution, almost we are done with the ticket distribution. And in between, Mrs. Gandhi used to call me number of times, because that time Youth Congress, my room was next to Mrs. Indira Gandhi. Unlike these days, we have few dozen general secretaries. Those days there was only 2 general secretaries in parent organization and 2 general secretaries of the Youth Congress. That's it. And Mrs. Gandhi. So we were all together in the eyes. So while deciding the tickets, she would call me in the parliamentary board number of times that you have been traveling as a Youth Congress, whether this man is okay or that man is okay, whether this man has stood by us or that man has stood by us or not. So the last day again she called me. I thought again, now all the tickets are distributed, maybe she would like to know something might have gone on somewhere. So the board was sitting and being presided by Mrs. Gandhi. And Mrs. Gandhi handed over me a slip like this. There were 3 names, the names of the places, that you select the name, which constituency you would like to contest. So 2 constituencies were from Maharashtra and 1 from Madhya Pradesh. I said, where's the question? We had Mir Qasim, the former chief minister, Sayyid Mir Qasim. He said, madam, why are you toddling this? Why are you just bothering this young boy? How can he go all the way to Maharashtra from Kashmir? And Narasimha Rao ji was the first person. He said, why? What's wrong? They are the one who have campaigned in this 2.5 years. It is the Youth Congress who is spearheading all the agitations, not we. We were all sitting inside 24 Akbar Road and writing the drafting and doing, but they were having a pitch better in the villages and streets and all that. They must fight. And then Mrs. Gandhi, of course, she rebuked Mr. Narasimha, this Mir Qasim, that during the past 2.5 years, there were half a dozen seats vacant, and we wanted to go. I wanted you to contest for by-elections, but you didn't. You are so chicken-hearted that you don't have the courage to contest the election. That's why in the general election I have not asked you to contest because one of the constituency was of Hyderabad, which went for by-election. I remember that Home Minister Muslim, Hashim Saab. That was the one. And there was in UP where when Mir Qasim refused and Mrs. Mohsina Kidwai was told, so she won. At least two places I remember where she asked Mir Qasim to contest and we won both, but he could not muster the courage. So madam told you, no, my word is the final. This is how I reached Maharashtra to contest the Lok Sabha in 79 and subsequently of course Rao Sahab also followed later on. So that was first spoke to each other. Then later was another thing, when I have mentioned here that he could very easily compromise on the things where he would feel one should. It was December 1980. By that time I had become MP also and I was president also of India Youth Congress. So I went with a proposal to Mrs. Indira Gandhi in the parliament. I still remember she was writing something and I told her, Madam, I just want in the first week or second week of January, I would like to have an international conference of youth leaders from across the country and across the world. Because during our youth congress period, we were in touch with the youth organizations of the other parts of the world, of other countries. It's a good idea. She picked up the Rex. You know, there's a Rex in Delhi which is only confined to where you can directly pick up and dial 3-digit to the ministers and some senior officers. She telephoned, I said that Mr. Ghulam Nabi is coming to you, he has a proposal, so you discuss with him. So I went to him immediately, he was waiting. So I said, I have given madam a proposal that we have a 2 days conference, international conference on disarmament. Disarmament was the most hot subject those days. He said, how many countries? And I said, I have told Mrs. Indira Gandhi to inaugurate that. How many countries are you going to invite? I said, about 100 countries. He said, who are the countries? I said, Iran, Iraq. I started with Iraq and Iran. So Iraq, Iran were fighting that time. And I said, Russia and America. Russia and America were just right for each other. He said, what are you talking? What nonsense you are talking? You are talking, I can believe other countries, but Russia and America and Britain and Iraq and Iran. And this is just nonsense. Oh, this cannot happen. Not even 5 countries will come. So I went back to Mrs. Gandhi. I said, this is what Rao Sahib has said. He said, forget, this is the problem with old people, all of us. He said, all of us. We don't encourage the, young people. How confident you are? How many countries you can muster? I said, 50. He said, okay, but even if you are able to muster the representatives from 20 countries, I will inaugurate this in Vigyan Gaon. But that was a great challenge. We had almost 25 or 30 days, but I was in touch with the youth organizations through correspondence and all that. They were coming, we were going. And ultimately we had representatives, the heads of the organizations, because those days the youth organizations all over the world were very strong, particularly because of the Russia, and 2 blocks were, supporting their countries. So I got confirmation from 75 countries and a delegation of 5 representatives from each country. Mrs. Gandhi said, now don't talk to Mr. Rao. You must directly talk to him. So she spoke to them. Rao Sahib was a foreign minister and she told the foreign secretary, be in touch with Mr. Azad. After I was briefing her every week, when the number went beyond 20, she had a lot of interest in that. Then she would telephone me rather, what is the progress? So the day of inauguration, she when I remember a great thing. I don't think many people have that privilege. My speech was corrected by Mrs. Gandhi, Indira Gandhi. She wanted me to know, what about your speech? I said, that's done. I said, you sent that speech to me. I sent back and with some corrections and additions. When the next day we had the inauguration, Rao Saab took me on one side that you have defeated me. I could never believe when she said, of course, that was the type of, Narasimha Rao. And till he died, he said, I am confident about you, you can do anything. And that's why it was one of the reasons. Well, of course, then later on, since '82, we had a great opportunity. We worked, most of you have mentioned that we have worked together in Rajiv Gandhi's government. No, we have worked together in Indira Gandhi's government. I was minister for 3 years with Indira Gandhi also. So, of course, he was a senior minister, I was a junior minister with Indira Gandhi, 82, 83 and 84 also she died. When he became the Prime Minister, and I would maybe number of things and number of people may not know, I think that Mrs. Sonia Gandhi had a great role in that, which may not many people be knowing, because when Rajiv Gandhi died, I was the General Secretary, because in '86, after being minister with Rajiv Gandhi for 2 years, I resigned and became the General Secretary of the party. And 90% of the work of the General Secretary I was handling single-handedly, including the parliamentary board and working committee and the distribution of the tickets and conferences and ANC sessions and all that. So when ticket distribution in 1989 was done, almost only 2 of us knew most, either Rajiv Gandhi and myself. And may not be named, many people know about this also. When we were almost done with the finalization of tickets, we received, Rajiv Gandhi had received the message that Mr. Narasimha Rao ji is not interested in contesting. So Mr. Rajiv Gandhi told me and Mr. Photedar, go and convince Mr. Narasimha Rao that you can contest the election from Maharashtra. As I said, I was also those days an MP from Maharashtra. So both Mr. Photedar and I went to his residence and requested him to contest. He said, no, I don't want to contest now. I have done so much. I have been minister in the state and I have been chief minister in the state. I have been working with all of you. And I want to have a rest. First of all, if we win election, he said, if you win elections, I mean all of us, if you win elections, give me at least one job of writing and drafting the books and all that, he was a very keen writer. That job I will do for the party and all of you and people. I think you need somebody to do that. And if you don't come back to power, then still I am available. But I would like to shift myself from, to Hyderabad. But if you come to power, then I will definitely get some accommodation, give me the job, work for writing. So then we can mail back to Mr. Rajiv Gandhi that this is the answer. Well, unfortunately, when that evening we went together when Rajiv Gandhi went to southern part of the country for touring, and Mr. Narasimha Rao ji and myself, we were in the same aircraft, we went to Nagpur. He had to go to his constituency to thank his voters that he is not going to contest. And I was going to campaign because I had decided not to contest. I was supposed to, as General Secretary, campaign all over the country. So we went to the last fight, and I was still in Maharashtra when we heard that Rajiv Gandhi has been assassinated. But after when we won the elections, we got a single largest majority, and we of course won and formed the government. There were a number of contenders. We had. Well, why I am witnessing this, Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, because I was the General Secretary in charge, handling the situation, and I was the one who, after Rajiv Gandhi, if somebody knew who are the who have been given ticket and who's who, so I asked Mrs. Gandhi who should be the Prime Minister. It is secret. She said that Mr. Narasimha Rao should be the Prime Minister. Not many people know it, since it was between the two of us. And I can also confide almost the 90% of his cabinet I made that. He said, no, you make the list. And you have to be the Parliamentary Affairs Minister. So that was the faith he had developed in me when, as Youth Congress President, he could not reconcile with my suggestion of holding a conference, but after that I successfully did it. So he said, no, he remembered. It was 80 and now it was much later on, almost 10 years, 11 years later on. He said, no, when you can have a conference at that point of time, I was thinking not even 5 people will come. But America came, Russia came, and it was most surprisingly that Iraq and Iran were represented by the Youth Affairs Ministers, both the Youth Affairs Ministers, and both spoke there on the stage, without fighting with each other. He said, if you can do that as a Youth Congress President, now it's 11 years, you are a very mature politician, now you can handle the party. And I'm very happy that we together succeeded in completing a full minority government. I remember anything, the first vote of confidence which we sought, we had minus 25 MPs, and the votes we got plus 50. So we had to. Well, that is another thing when I will tell some, that maybe some other occasion. I don't want to share at this time a moment because that is a totally patent. There may be other political parties that will use it against us. When I retire, maybe I will tell my other party leaders how to muster the support when you are a minor. Yeah. So I still remember there's another occasion, because not many people are privy to this. In 92, by that time I was Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, Tourism, Civilization. After the demolition of Babri Masjid, in the cabinet we dismissed the 4 BJP-ruled states. And after 1 year, we went for the elections in 93. Then we lost elections in 2 states. In one or two we could form the government, we lost Delhi and we lost some other states. And we were told that the Muslim and SCs did not vote for us. So there was immediately after the elections, after the results, there was a working committee meeting, and the working committee was only why Muslims and SCs did not vote. So I was the first speaker in the working committee. So I spoke for 1.5 hours. I spoke for 1.5 hours. And it was very hard-hitting speech. Very hard-hitting. Hard-hitting in the sense that Muslims have been deprived and all that, though SCs have been given reservation, but they are not given the respect. So it is not only the job, it is also, it has to be supplemented with the respect also. They are not still getting the respect. They are still looked down upon in spite of the reservation. And Muslims, they are not getting jobs, they are also discriminating. and all this. He was very hard. Mr. Narasimha Rao ji said, उर्दू में आप समझ आती है ना, क्या गुलाम नबी की मुझे एक ही चीज अच्छी पसंद आती है, ये कैबिनेट में और वर्किंग कमेटी में जूते मारते हैं, लेकिन बाहर पब्लिक में पार्टी को और कैबिनेट को, सरकार को सपोर्ट करते हैं. लेकिन कुछ लोग, I will not mention that person, there was another leader who would not speak anything, but outside he used to speak so much about minorities and ऐसे, कहा कि कुछ लोग यहाँ बैठे हैं जो यहाँ कभी भी माइनॉरिटीज और दलित के बारे में नहीं रहते हैं, लेकिन बाहर माइनॉरिटीज को दलित के बाहर लीडर बन जाते हैं. So that was another quote. But the outcome of maybe for large number of minority leaders, those who are sitting here, I would like to mention about that. Then I was the first and last speaker. In that, I don't think this has ever happened in any working committee. There would be only one speaker. Not that there were not many speakers, there were 8, 9 other speakers. But Mr. Narasimha Rao, he was so impressed. He said, I would just like to finish this working committee here, and I would like to constitute a committee of 5 members and come up with the proposal as what best can be done for minorities. And the next date for the working committee is on such and such date. Just 15 days here. So nothing will be taken. So in between a subcommittee was constituted. I was of course the member of that. And when my other colleagues made again 20 suggestions, 15 point, 20 point, this point, that point, I could not attend the first meeting. There were 2 meetings only to be held. The last meeting I attended. So I found a number of things, so I just put like this in the subcommittee. I said, I have been hearing for these points for years and years together. These points are not backed by the finances, unless there is a financial backup. These points are useless. And this is why there has been a great divide between the Hindus and Muslims. When you make so many 20 points or 30 points for Muslims, our Hindu brothers think that we have given so much. But these points are not backed with even with rupee. The Muslims get that we are making food. So non-Muslims say we have eaten everything. And non-Muslims say you have made us food. So this will not do. So I will tear it off. I said I would like to have only one thing in this recommendation, that is Minorities Finance Corporation. Now, the birth of Minorities Finance Corporation has taken place. I said we have Scheduled Caste Finance Corporation, we have Backward Classes Finance Corporation, why not Minorities Finance Corporation? So that was incorporated. Well, the committee members incorporated their suggestions also, and when the working committee was held and Mr. Rao was given this list, he said, ये तो सब घिसी पिटी सब चीजें हैं, इसमें only the Minorities Finance Corporation is good. So this is how it happened. So what I mean to say, he was a man of great qualities. He could tolerate any amount of criticism if it is for the good of the people and for the good of the nation. That was Mr. Narasimha Rao. But I can speak maybe few hours about different on different aspects, but unfortunately I have very less time. I have to leave Kochi. Ladies and gentlemen, all of us are aware of his historic legacy in the form of economic reforms and realization of the growth potential of the country, which was inaugurated and carried forward by successive governments when faced with unprecedented financial crisis in 1990, when India's foreign currency reserves were barely sufficient to finance 2 weeks of imports. He not only averted the international default but also launched a series of measures which liberalized the economy and paved the way for the emergence of India as a great power in her own right. The reforms touched several key areas where it was foreign investment, capital markets, deregulating domestic business or opening up of the trade regime. In fact, Shri Rao himself led the dismantling of the license regime while holding additional charge of Ministry of Industry Ministry. The results were far-reaching and dramatic, leading to the reduction of physical deficit, greater investment in infrastructure, increase in revenues, and therefore spending on the social initiatives, privatization, as well as increased efficiency of public sector due to the competition. He was a visionary and had the foresight to appoint an eminent economist, Dr. Manmohan Singh, as his finance minister at the time, going against the usual practice. It is now universally acknowledged that Dr. Manmohan Singh, as finance minister, played a central role in implementing and spearheading the economic reforms visualized by Shri PV Narasimha Rao ji. As was his habit, Shri Rao gave Director Manmohan Singh full freedom to deal with the crisis and lent him full support. This was a brilliant step that made India an economic powerhouse that the world admires today. Ladies and gentlemen, another aspect of Shri Narasimha Rao ji's leadership that is not so often talked about today is his apt handling of India's foreign policy and security concerns. He constantly increased military spending and energized the national nuclear security and ballistic missile program, while at the same time making diplomatic overtures to Western Europe, the United States and China, and launching the Look East foreign policy, which brought India closer to Asian group of countries. He displayed a firm handling of strategic issues and terrorist threats, and I was personally witness to his effort to deal with the terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir and bring things under control, and which finally made us possible to hold assembly elections in 1996 after a long spell of governor rule for almost 7 years. Here I would like to especially highlight the skillful handling of the Indian response to the occupation of Hazrat Bal Holy Shrine in Kashmir by terrorists in October 1993, which brought the occupation to an end without any damage to the shrine. And the credit goes to Mr. Narasimha Rao. Ladies and gentlemen, many of us have first-hand experienced how the economic reforms unleashed the growth of the Indian economy and provided greater impetus to the employment generation and increased revenues, both public and private. Though the economic reforms appear to some as a natural consequence of economic crisis of the time, many people are also aware of the stiff opposition to the measures. It is to the credit of Shri Narasimha Rao ji that he did not let the strong political challenge dampen his enthusiasm or alter his course, and displayed conviction and courage in equal measures to sustain the reforms for economic recovery and growth. However, I wish to emphasize here that the adoption of the policy of liberalization did not signal the end of the role of the state in pursuing the important task of inclusive development and social welfare. Both topics were very close to his heart. He was quite clear that the welfare of the people had to be accorded top priority, and additionally released money in the economy was invested productively by laying emphasis on employment generation, literacy, education, health, drinking water, and provision of adequate food and basic infrastructure. Carrying forward the great contribution of the Indian National Congress to inclusive development and anticipating the immediate negative effect effects of liberalization on the poor and marginalized, Shri Narasimha Rao came up with a human face of the new economic policy. There are many examples of development agenda adopted under the leadership by the government under him. For example, the railway gauge conversion program in view of its employment potential. Allocations were tripled for rural development and nationwide schemes were evolved. Midday meal scheme for the school children was funded by the center for the first time. Safari Karamchari Welfare and Development Commission was started by the center for the first time, and efforts launched to end manual spending are finally being realized now by the UPA government. Statutory status was granted to the National Commission on Minorities, the Scheduled Caste Commission, the Scheduled Tribes Commission, and the Backward Classes Commissions. While raising resources through targeted investment, Shri Narasimha Rao was clear that the government should retain majority shareholding in core strategic sectors like arms, ammunition, and defense equipment, atomic energy, and mineral oils. New education policy under him resulted in the starting of Navodaya schools to provide quality education to the children from the rural areas. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, the government of the day was not only instrumental in transforming the Indian economy, but also took responsibility for providing the basic elements that would help the development of human capital. In fact, it is a matter of great satisfaction for us that continuing with the same policies of inclusive social development, the UPA government under the leadership of UPA chairperson Srimati Sonia Gandhi and Dr. Manmohan Singh as its Prime Minister has seen spectacular developments in the social sector, be it rural development, education or health. Today, Manrega is the largest social welfare scheme of its kind in the world, started by the UPA in 2006. And now every fifth rural household in India benefits from the scheme, which provides employment to the millions and millions unemployed, skilled and unskilled poor people besides scheduled caste, scheduled tribe minorities and women in rural India. The total job cards issues under Manrega have increased to more than 12 crore in 12-13, and wages per day have almost doubled since the launch of the scheme from rupees 65 to rupees 128. As a result of which, the average decline in the poverty was 2% during 2004 to 2012, almost twice the rate of the preceding decade. The central government launched 16 flagship programs for both rural and urban areas during the 11th five-year plan, and the allocation for the 16 flagship programs have been doubled to rupees 15,46,648 crores during the 12th five-year plan. Similarly, in education, the number of the central universities have been increased from 17 to 44, and IITs from 7 to 16, and IIMs from 6 to 13 during 2004 to 2013. The Right to Education Act was introduced by the UPA government, which has ensured enrollment of lakhs of school children. More than 12 crore school children receive nutritious hard meals every day under the midday meal scheme, which was started by Narasimha Rao ji, and the allocation for this scheme increased 6 times under UPA government. There has been nearly 10-fold increase in the expenditure under the Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan. The number of the primary and upper primary schools increased from 10,42,000 in 2004 to almost 12 lakhs in 2010 and 11. Since the enactment of Right to Education Act in 2009, 11,000 500 primary school buildings, and almost 6 lakh additional classrooms, and 5 lakh toilets have been constructed, and more than 7 lakh posts of teachers have been created. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a matter of extreme satisfaction for me personally that these have been historic times for the Indian healthcare in terms of not only that several reforms have been brought into, but also a number of new programs conceived and implemented which are being appreciated the world over. The reforms introduced by my ministry have transformed the health sector, whether it is medical education, establishment of new Aims and upgradation of state government medical colleges for super specialty, tertiary care, sanctioning of national and state level tertiary cancer centers, and I have a great pleasure of announcing that for the rest of the country we have given only about a fortnight back one state cancer to each state, but for the Andhra I have given 2, one for Telangana and one for Coastal. Sanctioning of nursing schools in remote and underserved districts, screening for diabetes and hypertension, and free entitlements for mother and children in the public health facilities under GSSK, and 6 newborn care units and home-based care units. Provision of ambulances and mobile medical units. Universal screening of children for disease, disorder, deficiencies and development delays, including disabilities under Rashtriya Bal Swasthya कार्यक्रम. All areas have seen remarkable changes. We have earned international acclaim for our collective efforts at eradicating polio. It is a matter of great pride for all of us that India has been taken off the list of countries with endemic transmission of white polio virus, and we are only 5 days away from achieving our goal of polio-free India. On 13th of this month, we will complete 3 years without having a single polio, and in 21st century, this is a great thing which is going to happen for our country. When I joined this ministry, health ministry in 2009, the 50% burden, total burden of the polio was in India and 50% in the entire world. And it's a matter of great pride that even before completing the 5 years, we are going to make India polio-free. Ladies and gentlemen, coming back to late PV Narasimha Rao ji, because most of I have not touched what all he has done in the state, because you know more than I know about him, and particularly the legends who are sitting here and there who have had a great opportunity of seeing him, may not be working with him, but seeing him what he has been doing during his earlier days, during his political career in the state of Andhra Pradesh. But I can say Rao Saab's contribution has benefited also the state of Andhra Pradesh, first as a minister and then as chief minister, particularly his land reform. That will be always remembered. He is credited with several far-reaching reforms in diverse areas such as education, science, technology, and land reforms. For his many contributions in social as well as political arena, at the state as well as the center, the legacy of Shri late Narasimha Rao will always be remembered and will always act as a guide and beacon for those who are motivated by the greater good of the greater number of people and have the courage of conviction to lead conflicting minds towards the common cause of public benefit and national service. Before I conclude, I once again thank all of you, particularly Dr. K. Ramachandra Murthy, Editor-in-Chief of Dance India and HLTV, and organizers for giving me this opportunity of sharing my thoughts on the great and worthy son of India. I thank you, gentlemen.
గాంధీ గ్లోబల్ ఫ్యామిలీ ప్రచురించిన బాపు డెంట్రీ వర్గులు గులాం నబీ ఆజాద్ గారి చేతుల మీదుగా ఈ ఆవిష్కరణ జరిగింది. ఈ ప్రచురణ వేదిక మీద ఉన్న పెద్దలకు అందజేస్తున్నారు.
कांग्रेस पार्टी सोनिया गांधी गुलाम नबी आजाद साहब गुलाम नबी आजाद साहब चलो